There's some people on the line now, so we'd like to welcome you. We're going to get started here in just a minute. Okay. Okay. Hi, for those that are on, we're going to get started here in just a few minutes. We're giving our system time to load. We'd like to welcome you to our town hall meeting this evening. Really happy you can join us. We're going to have a great discussion. Good evening. Thank you for joining the Reform Alliance Town Hall meeting. We're very happy that you could join us tonight. Just give us a few minutes for getting our system loaded, and we're going to start the meeting here in just a few minutes. Again, welcome to our Town Hall meeting. Okay. Good evening. Thank you for joining the Reform Alliance Town Hall meeting tonight. We're very happy that you're joining us. Please stay with us. We are loading our system, and we'll be starting the Town Hall meeting in just a few minutes. So please stay with us. I'm Valerie Pruitt, the Executive Director of the Reform Alliance. I'd like to thank you for joining our Town Hall meeting. We have very good discussion that will be happening tonight. We have teachers here with us. We'll be talking about Arkansas education, and we're very glad to join us this evening. We're loading our system, so just please stay with us, and we will be starting our Town Hall meeting in just a minute. Again, this is Valerie Pruitt with the Reform Alliance. Thank you for joining our Town Hall meeting. Just want to remind you to press 0 if you have any questions once we get started with our meeting. Thank you for joining us. We have teachers that are going to talk about education here in Arkansas. We're going to have a great discussion tonight, and we're really glad that you could join the Reform Alliance Town Hall meeting. Again, press 0 if you have any questions for us tonight, and we're very happy that you're. Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight for our Town Hall meeting. My name is Valerie Pruitt. I am the Executive Director of the Reform Alliance. We are a C3 organization dedicated to education reform here in Arkansas. Tonight we have 4 Arkansas teachers from various backgrounds here to share with you their views on Arkansas education. If during this call you have any questions for myself or the panel, please press 0 and a team member will put your question in the queue. If your question is not answered tonight, please feel free to email us at info@reformalliance.org or call us here at Reform Alliance at 501-244-9028, and we will do our best to get your question answered. I'd like to introduce our panel this evening, Melissa Hanna from the Hanna School. She is a licensed speech language pathologist. She is a certified academic language therapist and an international dyslexia therapist. Melissa has 20 years of teaching experience. We also have Brittany Foster. Brittany received her BA in English from the University of Arkansas at Little Rock. She teaches 7th and 8th grade English at Lisa Academy West Middle School, where she has taught since 2013. Olivia Brunbrick teaches 8th grade math at Morrilton Junior High School. Prior to teaching in Morrilton, Olivia was employed as a teacher in the Little Rock School District and taught 7th grade math at Mapleville Middle School. We also have Cassandra Norman McGee. Cassandra is a retired educator, having spent 37 years in public schools. Her service included teacher coordinator, assistant principal, and director, and still holds her Arkansas educator's license. Before we get started with our panel, which I'd like to thank you all for being here, our panel, we'd like to ask a question from the telephone. Before we get started with our panel, we'd like to ask you this question. This is a polling question we have for you, and please use your telephone keypad. The question is, do you support families having the option of choosing their child's school? Press 1 for yes, 2 for no, and 3 if you need more information. Again, the question is, do you support families having the option of choosing their child's school? Press 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for if you need more information. Remember, if during this call you have any questions for myself or the panel, please press 0 and a team member will put your question in the queue. Now let's get started with our panel tonight. Again, thank you, ladies, for joining us. And I'd like to ask each person on our panel this question: what motivates you in the classroom? And Melissa, let's start with you.
Okay. I'm Melissa Hanna. What motivates me most in the classroom are the students. The students that I have, especially now, they're all students who have struggled in traditional settings, not because of the teachers themselves, but just because their needs couldn't be met. So watching them excel and accomplish things that they haven't been able to accomplish before is extremely rewarding and motivating in and of itself.
Thanks, Melissa. Olivia?
Hey, this is Olivia. I'm going to piggyback off of what Melissa said. The students absolutely motivate me as well, especially in my content area of mathematics. By the time that students reach the junior high level, their mathematical dispositions are already set, whether they think they can do math or they think they can't. So just teaching so many real-world examples and seeing how math is relevant to the world around us and seeing them light up about learning mathematics motivates me to help them learn and succeed.
Awesome. Brittany, what about you? What motivates you in the class?
Hi, this is Brittany. Of course, as I've already been said by the other teachers, students are definitely my number one motivator. You always come across different backgrounds, different needs. As a teacher, it gives you the opportunity to reach them where they are as you can. And if you're unable to do that, then having a choice in school allows that option for the teacher to go to a different school or the teacher to go to a different school and be able to help them as they can, addressing the whole child and not just one or two needs at a time.
Cassandra, of course, you're a retired teacher that you have 37 years, so I'm sure you can have a lot of examples of motivation.
Thank you, Valerie. Yes, I'm Cassandra, and the most important thing about motivation for me is knowing that lifelong learning is the end result of the educational experience. If the foundation is not met, as you've heard being expressed by all of the educators so far, life is not going to be what we know it to be. So that lifelong learning experience is critical to meeting the motivation of learning.
The second question I'd like to ask our panel, and Brittany, we'll start with you. Do you feel one-size-fits-all education in America is effective and unfair?
This is Brittany again. Thank you, Valerie, for that question. Right now, I do feel like one-size-fits-all education is not what needs to occur in our educational system. As I mentioned previously, we have students with different backgrounds, different needs sets, and as we continue to go forward in a society that is instantaneous or looking for instant satisfaction at the time, means we're going to have to address things in a different manner than we have in the past. So saying that one way of teaching is the perfect way of teaching and it's to reach off students, if they don't learn, then they're just left behind. It's definitely not the direction that we need to go in.
Sandra?
Well, I know that one size does not fit all. One size fits most. And that's where the problem is. Education is about learning for all, not just most. Melissa.
I would agree, especially with what Cassandra just said, is, we are so different from each other, not just in our lifestyles, but also in what we bring to the classroom as teachers and as students. And, when a child needs a specific type of intervention or a specific skill set, so many teachers bend over backwards to try to meet that need. But if the environment is lacking, or maybe that child needs somebody with a specific skill, if we're in a one-size-fits-all, then we miss all those children that need those specific expertise.
Great. Thank you all for those answers. We are going to go now to ask another polling question. Remember to answer, use your telephone keypad. Our second question is, do you have a child in a K through 12 school? 1 for yes and 2 for no. Again, do you have a child in a K through 12 school? 1 for yes and 2. I'll have a question from our caller. This question is from Sandra from Conway. There are public school teachers that support school choice but have been reluctant to publicly voice their support because they feel threatened. How can we create an environment that makes teachers feel comfortable to talk openly about why educational options are important for families? Do you want to get started on that one?
Wow. I totally agree. What was her name?
Sandra from Conway.
Sandra. I totally agree with what you're asking, because I've been in public education for 37 years, and I know how difficult it is in the political part of the education system. One thing I think that is important is that we don't politicize a bipartisan issue. Everybody has to have an education that meets their needs. So I suggest, and personally for me, it's taken me 37 years to open up and say what I believe about learning, and don't wait as long as I did. Please step up and give a choice to those that need.
Thank you, Sandra. Again, if you have a question, press on your keypad. Press on your keypad if okay, we're going to go back to our panel. Cassandra, do you believe all could excel academically if given the opportunity?
Yes, I do. I totally believe that, because students are motivated by the support for learning. If they're in an environment where they are comfortable with the individuals that are there, they're going to learn at a higher level and a higher rate. Academically, I believe that there should be personalized education plans. The environment is small enough in a non-traditional setting where students should be able to receive that personal touch needed for learning. And lastly, the holistic approach to learning, where we meet the mind, the body, and the emotional all together, which leads to academic support.
Thank you, Sandra. Again, let me remind our listeners that if you have a question, press 0 on your keypad to ask a question. We're going to go back again to our panel. At the Reform Alliance, we believe school choice benefits empowering teachers to have the flexibility to teach in schools that fit their own personal philosophies, skill sets, and goals. We also believe that it provides teaching jobs and better benefits, greater student and family satisfaction, and also encourages creativity and innovation. Would you agree with these statements? And Olivia, I would like you to expound on this.
Hey, thanks for that question, Valerie. I agree with those statements, and I also believe that with such a teacher shortage in the state of Arkansas, that, school choice is beneficial for teachers. We have so many teachers leaving the profession because of burnout, and we even have people in colleges that don't want to enter the profession because of these types of things. And I think that with different teacher personalities and how teachers personally envision helping their students, that it's absolutely beneficial for teachers to explore their options and also have school choice. I always give the analogy of, we talked about the one-size-fitting-all for education for students and their families. That's also true for educators, because I think about it as this car analogy. A minivan is not a sports car, and a sports car cannot be a minivan. If my family needs a minivan because I have a growing family, then a sports car isn't going to work. And that works in education as well. Sometimes, and even in other industries, we have those opportunities to where if you interview, you see if that team or that business or whatever is a good fit for you, and teachers need that choice as well.
Thank you, Brittany. We have some powerful answers coming from tonight. I really appreciate you all again being. Again, remember, press 0 on your keypad if you have a question. We're going to go to another polling question. The question is, would your family benefit from having the option of choosing where your children attend? Press 1 for yes, for no, 3 for if you need more information. Again, the question is, would your family benefit from having the option of choosing where your children attend? 1 for yes, 2 for no, and 3 if you need information. And remember, during this call, if you have any questions for myself or the panel, please press 0 and a team member will put your question in. We're going to go back to our panel. This question is for Melissa. In your experience, Melissa, how would having the ability to help families whose children are struggling to find educational solutions change the dynamic in your class?
Well, thank you for this question. It also kind of hinges on some of the topics that everyone else has discussed. As an educator, my first 10 years were in the public schools, and the nature of my job was to work closely with kindergarten and first grade children and teachers. And there were several times that the teachers would have a student that needed a particular service, but for whatever reason that service was not available to that child. Either they didn't qualify or they weren't in the correct grade level or whatever. And the child would be struggling, the teacher would be struggling, I would be struggling, the family would be struggling, because we would watch this child struggle, and we were so limited as a team to provide the needs for this child. And, it hurts the family dynamic. Parents don't know what they can do, especially if a child has a learning disability of some kind. Sometimes that runs in families. And the parents may not be able to provide the assistance either because they struggle or maybe they don't have the financial means to provide additional tutoring or things like that. So it bleeds out into all aspects of the educational environment within the family, the children, the staff. And I think, going off the previous question, that in and of itself leads to burnout for the teachers, and then even for the child. You can only go to school and be excited about failing for so long. And everybody knows when that environment isn't meeting their needs, and when you can't solve that problem, it weighs very heavily on everybody involved.
Thank you, Melissa, and I know that you see a lot of that at your school, and we're just glad to have this conversation because, this is the kind of discussion we need to start having in our community because it's all about our children. We
and
have
many
another.
of our,
Sorry, go ahead.
oh, go ahead. I was just going to say many of our families have exhausted, so many options and have been in environments with great staff and great teachers, but just needed something different for their child. And when that was met, it made all the world a difference.
We have another question from a caller. This is from Maria in North Rock. How do you properly serve when the majority of, how do you serve children when the majority attend schools based on zip code rather than their individual needs? Brittany?
I'm going to chime in on that one, specifically because I work at a charter school that has often been discussed as a place that targets specific zip codes. When it comes to charter schools, that's why we're here at the Reform Alliance having this discussion, we need choices and options. Parents deserve the option to say, my child lives in this zip code, but the school is not going to meet the needs that they have. And so by providing these choices, you are then able to provide a specialized education for your student if the needs aren't being met at that school in your zip code. And so the one thing I do want to point out to teachers and parents on this phone call that you don't have to stick with the school within your zip code if you feel it does not meet the needs that your child currently has. And if you feel like that is your only option, then that is when you speak out and you start to take social media and other media outlets to say, we need alternatives here, this is not what needs to happen, or we need reform to happen. And so if you feel like that is the only option, then that means it's time to start stepping out the box and finding a different.
And we here at the Reform Alliance definitely give people in Arkansas information on the various types of options that are available for children in Arkansas. So please feel free to give us a call at our office, 501-249-028, and go to our website, thereformalliance.org, as listed the different education options that are available for child in Arkansas. And again, that's why we are here to make sure and to advocate. Again, press 0 if you have any questions for our panel or myself. Well, Brittany, since you're on a roll, let me ask you this question. How does class size impact your ability to be personalized?
Providing options or allowing schools to have the option to create a smaller environment for students is definitely essential to making sure all of the class. Currently in our education system, it's about money. It's about the budget. How many students can I fit in a classroom and be paid to meet school needs? That's not necessarily the case when it comes to education. Think of what your child needs specifically. And so having smaller class sizes definitely helps teach teachers to reach those students. It helps them create an individualized instruction plan. And it's hard to miss a student when you only have 20 versus having 32 stuff in the class.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Brittany. I'm just going to say amen. We have a question from a caller. Again, if you have any questions, press 0 on your keypad, and we will get that question to our panel or to myself. Our next question, how do you achieve excellence in all our schools and politics play such a powerful role in making decisions on how our children are educated? Sandra looks like she just wants that really bad. Sandra, I'm going to let you have that question.
Mark, it's the reality is that we all not only have to use our options for educational opportunities, but also for political opportunities. Those individuals that have the best interest of kids in their agenda will not have a problem with school choice, because choice is about every educational experience in this state. So I say that to say it's about us standing up and speaking to those individuals that are closest to the decision making, so they'll know exactly what we need to have to meet the needs of all of our students in our state. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark, for that question. And remember, during this call, if you have any questions for myself or the panel, press 0, and a team member will take your question and put it in our queue. We have another polling question. Again, use your keypad to answer this question. If you are a K through 12 teacher, what type of school do you teach? Is it a traditional public school, a public charter school, a private school, or, I'm sorry, I didn't give you those numbers. Let me go over that one more time. The question is, if you are a 12 through K teacher, in what type of school do you teach? Push 1 for traditional public school, 2 for public charter school, 3 for private school, and 4 for other. Again, if you are a K through 12 teacher, in what type of school do you teach? 1 for traditional public school, 2 for public charter, 3 for private school, and 4 for other. All right. We are going to take more questions. Okay, we're going to do one more polling question. That was, we're going to go to our next polling question. Based on the information you heard tonight, has your view changed on families having the option of choosing their child's school? Press 1 for yes, 2 for no, and 3 if you need additional information. Again, the question is, based on the information you heard tonight, has your view changed on families having the option of choosing their child's school? Press 1 for yes, 2 for no, and 3 for more information. Okay, we've got those polling questions done. I'm going to go back to our panel and ask them if there's anything else they would like to say. Start with Brittany.
I do like that there was a question asked earlier about how can teachers help change the educational environment. And do you ever feel, I think, intimidated or afraid of any type of retaliation that may come from speaking out about your views? For teachers and educators in general, including parents, there are things that can be done, especially in the current environment where we're talking about professional learning community, and there are so many people that have Twitter handles and blog posts, things of that nature. My suggestion is do not hesitate. If there is something in education you feel that needs to change, don't just complain. Create a resolution or talk to people who can create a resolution. Start stepping into those roles and just saying, I'm a classroom teacher, there's nothing else I can do. Oftentimes as teachers, we know that we have different hats that we have to wear. So sometimes you have to step into the roles to help change your educational environment and not just wait for things to happen.
Andrew?
I'm excited about this opportunity tonight. I'd like to thank the Reform Alliance for taking the initiative to step out and ask the community of Arkansas what they are feeling about the educational system. If it's not working, we have to fix it. If it's broken and every child is not learning and being successful, it needs to be fixed. It's just not enough for a student to get an education and not be able to use it. Thank you.
Thank you, Cassandra. Melissa?
I'd just like to add, this is such a difficult topic in many ways to discuss for a variety of reasons. But in all the years that I've done this, I have had the privilege of working with some exceptional educators and administrators in both public schools and private schools and charter schools, either working daily with them or contracting my services. And so we're not short on good, qualified educators. We're just short on meeting everybody's needs, the educators' needs, the children's needs. I think because we hold on to this idea that education should look simply like one size fits all. And, you know, this is the gateway to so much in a child's future in their adult life, that we owe it to them to think outside the box and, like was said earlier, solve these problems. It's a difficult conversation to have, but whether we want to have it or not, the needs of our children should come first. And sometimes we have to set aside and accept, you know, the way I'm doing it right now isn't working great for that child. It may be working awesome for this other child, but it's not working great for that child. So what can we do as a community to make that child successful?
Thank you, Melissa, and we really appreciate you being on the call to answer questions.
Thank you.
Give your opinion on how important the issue of options are. Olivia?
Hey, again, I'd like to thank Valerie and the Reform Alliance for having me on this call tonight. I also appreciate this community of people that have come together for us to have this discussion, and I believe this is absolutely where the solution begins. We have to rally together. We can no longer politicize education. It's not one size fits all. So public school teachers, students, families, private school teachers, charter school teachers, everyone, homeschool teachers, all of these options, we have to rally together and figure out what is best to meet the needs of all of our kids. And like I mentioned before, there is no one size fits all. I'm not sure that works in anything, whether it's cars, whether it's a choice in shoes, whether it's a choice in whatever I want. So we have to have choice in education, and we do have to reach out to these people on Twitter or blogs or even start our own and just have this rallying cry together to make sure that we are producing productive citizens and that these students and families have all of their needs met so that they feel successful.
Olivia, I don't think we could have said that any better. I'd like to truly thank my panel. We've definitely had a great panel put together this evening for this town hall meeting. Melissa Hanna with the Hanna School, Brittany Fisher, Lisa Academy West Middle School, Olivia Brunswick, Morrison Junior High School, and Cassandra Norman, who is a retired educator from the Little Rock and Pulaski. Thank you for joining the Reform Alliance tonight for our town hall meeting. Again, if you have questions that were not answered, we ask you to please call us here at the office at 501-244-9028. Be sure that you also go to info@thereformalliance.org. You can send your questions to that email address, info@reformalliance.org, or again, give us a call at 501-244-9028, and we will get you questions. Also, make sure you go to our Facebook page. So there are lots of ways to contact us. So take advantage of all those ways to contact us here at the Reform Alliance. I'm Valerie Pruitt, and we really appreciate you joining us this evening, and you have a good night. Thank you for joining us.